Intro music.
Wait, that's not it.
What?
He's no good to me, Dad.
Intro music.
My country.
Intro music.
Bounty hunting is a complicated profession.
Yes,
That's what they say, but at least now I can hear the intro music.
yes,
Right? Like that is, I'm just excited to actually hear it. I got to groove along with it. This is like the first time in months I've actually gotten to hear that intro music. And I'll tell you, what's really exciting is hearing one of those particular voices
Oh, I know.
in that intro music after last episode. We are here. Welcome. Hello, everybody. Banter,
Hello,
Beskar,
everybody, and welcome.
Bantha Milk, Mandalorian podcast. How you doing, Rob?
I am wonderful, Nick. I'm wonderful because it is Friday. Another excellent episode of The Mandalorian came out.
Yeah, they are really delivering on The Mandalorian this season. You know, and we'll talk a lot about it this episode, obviously. But we talked a lot at the beginning of the season about that second episode with the fish people, the frog people, I guess. And we're like, I hope it's not, because they were getting into that pattern of like strong episode and then kind of like side quest, then strong. So it's looking like they're breaking free of that pattern and things are going really well. It was an awesome episode, and we have a complete breakdown coming at you later on in this episode for it was the tragedy, right?
Make sure you know about the spoilers. Don't.
Yes, yeah. If you have not seen the most recent episode of The Mandalorian, The Tragedy, now is your chance. Go check it out on Disney Plus. Press pause. You can go downstairs and press play on Disney Plus, and then come right back here and listen to our breakdown, because I know that as soon as you are done watching, you're going to want to listen to us and say, what do Nick and Rob have to say about this?
What would I have to say about this? I know you want to know
What would any of us have to say
not
about
what
it?
Nick has to say. Only what I
That's
have
right.
to say, because I'm the important one.
That's true. I mean, I'm just here for eye candy, right?
I'm only important to me, so it doesn't matter.
But
yeah, so
anyway, we are here. What are you drinking, Rob?
I am once again drinking 21A's blah, 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 because 21st Amendment is a sponsor of the Ears Up Network, and we support our sponsors. So I support them by buying and drinking their beer. And Nick and I like to do a lot of blah, blah, blah. So 21A, this one's for you.
Wow. And look at that. He even waited to that crack right in the microphone.
Right
that
in
was
the
planned. He planned that. This ain't his first rodeo.
One person might think that we almost might be semi-professionals at this.
Yeah, he actually had that queued up on the soundboard. That was just a pre-recorded beer popping right there. But
It sure
yeah,
was. What are you
I'm
drinking,
actually it's different today. So you know, the holiday season is upon us, and as such, I don't have any money. And so I'm going through my liquor cabinet, and before I have to get into the Midori and such that we have in there from
Just gave me chills.
a year ago,
Yeah.
I'm drinking just a little Jameson Irish whiskey.
There you go.
Just something to warm the belly and warm the chest on this cold and dreary Friday evening. But the main reason I'm drinking Irish whiskey is because all my Star Wars friends don't send me drink recipes, right? So
I hear you.
all you Star Wars folks out there, you want to make sure you are sending us drink recipes, because this is Banter, Beskar, and Bantha Milk. And without the Bantha Milk, what are we? Right? So send us your drink recipes. Tell us the Star Wars drinks that you have that you either had before or else that you are making up on the spot. Right. And you can catch all of our social medias. We should probably tell them about where we can catch all of our social medias. Right, Rob?
Yes. Why don't we tell them?
All right, y'all. So we want to make sure you check us out on all of our social medias, right? You can check us out on Instagram and Facebook at Bantha Milk Podcast, right? Bantha Milk Podcast. You can also check us out on Twitter at Bantha Milk, just Bantha Milk on Twitter, right? Check us out at banthamilkpodcast@gmail.com, where you can send us drink recipes. You can send us comments. You can send us fact check, right? Make sure we get all our information right. And you can check out our very own email. Wait, is it an email? It's a website at banthamilkpodcast.com.
We have an email too. So
Yeah.
you could email us at banthamilkpodcast at gmail.com. Yes, you could email us there as well. Also, don't forget to check out our parent organization, Ears Up. That's with a Z, Ears Up Podcast. They took us under their wing. We love them for it. They also have a Patreon, and they have an Etsy page where you can buy some awesome swag, some Ears Up swag, and hopefully they'll get some of our swag in there as well. And check out their Patreon. For as little as $2 a month, you can become a Patreon subscriber. $5 a month, you get to be in on their secret show. And then I think it's $10 or $15 a month. They'll even throw shouts out to you there. So check them out.
Absolutely. And just so you're aware, anything you do help towards Ears Up absolutely helps us at Bantha Milk Podcast. They help us to get our word out. They hook us up with equipment when we need it. They're great people, right? So help them out, help us out, help the world out.
That's right. And we have 2 other shows on the Ears Up Network. Check them out also. The Supreme Resort. They compare rides at Disney World and Disneyland, and Scraping the Vault, that they go through some really old movies from Disney and they make fun of it the whole time. So 2 more great episodes. Check all that out.
But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Star Wars, I'm pretty sure.
We
right?
sure are.
And we are, man,
are.
we're really stepping up in the world, right? We got some pre-recorded stuff happening in our show now. We've got, man, like it is Bantha Milk 2.0 this season, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right.
Bigger, better, more Grogu and Grogurt and yogurt and so
And sour cream.
Exactly. And speaking of sour cream, we did have Eric from the Supreme Resort on last week to join us in talking about last week's episode. But before we get talking into this week's episode, I am fairly certain that Rob has got some Star Wars news for us.
I have 2 pieces of Star Wars news for you.
And I can finally hear the Star Wars news theme song, right? Thanks to shout out to Brian.
News without that awesome theme song. So
that's right.
2 pieces of Star Wars news. One is very interesting. Dave Filoni. Did you ever hear of the guy?
Once, years ago.
Once, yes. So he was interviewed in Vanity Fair, and he was letting us know that The Mandalorian may not have run sequentially after Rebels ended.
Yes. Yeah. So I got a couple of messages about this from some folks that know me as the Star Wars fan, right? So I had heard this because now you can't really listen to our show, unfortunately, without getting at least some minor Rebels spoilers, right? Because you can't watch The Mandalorian without getting some minor Rebels spoilers. So if you haven't watched Rebels yet and you're listening to our show, just know that there's some stuff on The Mandalorian that is just going to take maybe some of that shock factor out of Rebels. But part of the big thing in Rebels was that return of Ahsoka that we saw last week, and she played a big role. And yeah, there is some talk about that last scene of Rebels where it may or may not land in the Star Wars timeline, right?
Yeah. So Dave Filoni said, this is one of his quotes from the show, from the interview with Vanity Fair. Right, but no, it's an interesting one. That's not necessarily chronological. I think the thing that people will most not understand is they want to go in a linear fashion. But as I learned as a kid, nothing in Star Wars really works in a linear fashion. You do episodes 4, 5, and 6, and then 1, 2, and 3. So in the vein of that history, when you look at the epilogue of Rebels, you don't really know how much time has passed. So it's possible that the story I'm telling in The Mandalorian actually takes place prior to that. Possibly, I'm saying it's possible. So he's not saying yes, and he's not saying no.
What a wishy-washy answer that is, right? He could be a politician. Vote Filoni, right?
Right, exactly. He's like, it's definitely in the middle of Rebels, but it might not be.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and it makes sense. There's definitely the sense of a time jump right before the last scene of Rebels. And there are some valid reasons to point out that maybe it was not linear, right? In Rebels, in the last scene of Rebels, when Ahsoka is going off and looking for Ezra, she's got this kind of cadre of X-Wings with her, as though the New Republic is sort of kind of helping her and aiding her in this quest. It doesn't seem like what's happening right now, she's operating altogether much with the New Republic. It does kind of seem like she's sort of lone wolfing it. And so that, that kind of calls it into question. So I don't know. It could be either way. I think he's just kind of trying to leave the door open for creativity.
Yeah.
Interesting to see what they do. I
definitely think so.
But do you think we'll see Ahsoka again this season?
Well, I mean, if we go through the pattern that we went through with the first season, it definitely appears, especially after today's episode, that he is building an army of friends to go for a big finale, for a big season finale.
Yeah, and that was kind of the trend last season too, right? Was the building, like we met these people, we didn't know why we were meeting these people, we were just kind of stumbling person to person, and then all of a sudden at the end, they all really mattered.
Yeah.
And so that it is interesting to think about, like, because you can think about that and go, okay, so we met Ahsoka, so she's going to be part of our army, she's going to be the leader, the Jedi leader of our little army, right? But where does the Frog Lady lie in all of that, right? Is she going to be her lieutenant?
How does she fit into all of this? She's going to be in the background, and she's just going to, her tongue, she's going to.
Oh, you know what?
She's going to, like,
you know what's going to happen?
Stormtroopers with her tongue.
It's going to be like this very touching moment where Mando, our boy Din, is trying to talk Grogu out of the dark side, and he's almost there, and then all of a sudden he gets a glimpse of those eggs, and he goes, "Younglings!" and he goes on a murderous rampage.
To the dark side.
Well, I'm betting we get like a flashback, a Vietnam-style flashback of Grogu hiding under a table while Anakin is slicing down younglings left and right.
And him just, he's under his blanket in his little crib, maybe, like hiding.
Eating eggs and blue macarons.
Funny you mentioned blue cookies, because the other news that I have is...
We didn't even rehearse that, folks. That segue just happened naturally.
That was perfect. I know.
That's quality podcasting right there.
I know. You think we planned this? There's a YouTuber, Binging with Babish, and this guy cooks things up that are from TV shows and movies and stuff like that. So he decided that he was going to make a recipe for the light blue macarons that Baby Yoda was eating. And what's really cool about it, now we've tried 100 times to get our friend John Favreau to talk to us, but John's a big fan of his, so he was actually talking to John while he was cooking this stuff. But he has a website, and on his website he has a recipe so that you can make the blue macarons that Baby Yoda was eating. And I thought this was good because I looked at and I watched him make these macarons, and it's a lot of work. It has to be very precise. You have to sift together the almond flour and powdered sugar 3 separate times. You have to freeze the egg whites and all this, like, really, really hard stuff. So then at the end, he also makes a blue wafer cookie recipe. So if you don't want to go through the trouble of making the perfect blue macarons, then you can make wafer cookies instead.
But if you are one of those people who's adventurous and you want to try out making them blue macarons, make sure you send a picture to us over here at Bantha Milk Podcast at banthamilkpodcast@gmail.com. We would love to see you making your blue macarons, right?
We would. We sure would.
And while you're doing so and sending us your emails, you can go ahead and fact check us, because guess what? Sometimes we say things that are not true.
That's right.
It's the great thing about having a podcast is that you can say whatever you want and they can't stop you. And
they can correct you afterwards, but they can't stop you.
They can correct you, and we do have a certain number of dedicated fans that are correcting us, right? And one of them is our buddy Doug, my buddy Doug, who I met out in grad school in Illinois. He is our official fact checker for the Bantha Milk Podcast. And he had a couple from last week, not too many. I think we're getting oddly more accurate as time goes on.
Well, that's good. I like being oddly more accurate.
Yeah, I guess, whatever.
Better than just being oddly like I've been for the first 46 years of my life.
You're pulling off, though.
Thank you.
You got to roll with it, Rob. So one of the things that Doug had mentioned to me about is, I guess we were there was a conversation last episode about the Dark Troopers and Death Troopers when we were first kind of got a glimpse of them. Right. And I had mentioned they had a sort of a droid look to them. Now, canonically, Dark Troopers were not droids, and that was pointed out by Doug. But it does look like things might have changed from the canon just a wee bit.
Yes, once you watch this week's episode.
Yeah, based on today's episode. So whether or not that was canonically accurate, it looks like Dark Troopers have changed a wee bit. There was also another question about this time jump, because we do know that we're about 9 ABY, and I was wondering, all right, how much time has passed for Ahsoka? So it looks like Rebels was about 4 BBY, and I remember in Star Wars we always talk about the Battle of Yavin. That was from when Luke destroyed the Death Star. That's like AD and BC or BCE, right? So that's the Star Wars version of that, BBY and ABY, before the Battle of Yavin and after the Battle of Yavin. So Rebels took place about 4 before the Battle of Yavin, right? 4 years before Luke took on the Death Star, and it looks like Mando is taken about 9 years after. So there's about a 13-year time jump between Rebels and the Mandalorian. So quite a bit has happened for Ahsoka, you can imagine, in that time. And so if she is still searching for Thrawn 13 some odd years later, you got to wonder what's going on with Ezra. Have they made their way back from where they came? Or are they still on the original search?
Yes, good point. Very good point.
Stuff.
We don't know.
Didn't you say there was another
yes,
new
this wasn't
Star Wars
necessarily a fact check.
Okay.
But it was fun. One of our loyal listeners and often
a former
guest
star.
Yes.
That's right.
Guest star of our show, our good friend Tom. He on Sunday was listening to the show and live texting me as he was listening to our show on Sunday.
Okay.
Every time he agreed with or disagreed with or whatever. So we were talking last week also about there has to be somebody who checks the storyline to make sure that it's consistent.
Sure.
And he said the person who does that, his name is Pablo Hidalgo, is one of the masters of storylines.
Okay. And you know what's funny is I've definitely seen his name popping up in credits and stuff.
Yeah. And then Tom said that he's been following him since before episode 7 for possible movie hints.
Interesting.
So that's
all right. So the keeper of lore at Lucasfilm.
Keeper of lore, yes.
Pablo Hidalgo. All right. Interesting. All right, so I'm glad they at least have that position, someone to talk to Jon Favreau and Kathleen Kennedy and them and say, hey man, just so you know, you want to do this, but in episode 36 of Clone Wars, C-3PO specifically said that he did not use an Arclight spanner when he was fixing, I don't know. I'm just
right, whatever. Yes. So that I think is in fact Star Wars news.
But of course, the reason you all came here is for the show. The show happened this morning. It is Friday night. And what time did you watch the show, Rob?
I watched the show at 6:30 this morning.
Wow.
At lunchtime. And then after we were done work, I watched it again with my son. So I've watched it 3 times already.
Okay, you're a little ahead of me. I had a lot of craziness during my day. I didn't get to watch it until about 3:30.
Okay.
And then I watched probably every Boba Fett scene again, maybe about 25, 30 minutes ago. So I'm a little fresh on it.
Right.
What chapter is this? 13, 14?
Chapter 14.
Chapter 14, The Tragedy.
The Tragedy.
This was, I don't know what to say. I was telling my wife and I talk about this show often because my wife, as you all know, if you are a fan of this show, she's been on this show. She's a huge Star Wars fan. And for the longest time, me and my wife's favorite character was Boba Fett, much like most people.
Yes.
In fact, I've got on the inside of my wedding ring here, I've got an engraving with the words Boba Fett on it because that's what me and my wife call each other because we're disgusting. Anyway, Boba Fett has been very near and dear to our hearts for years, and until recently, he was our favorite character. But over the past year, my wife and I both have come to the decision that our favorite character in Star Wars is Ahsoka Tano.
Okay.
Ahsoka they've done so much with Ahsoka.
Yes.
And they've built her into such an interesting and intriguing character. And then today happens. And I don't know what to do anymore because
you're stumped. Who is my favorite?
For 30 years they've been building up Boba, and there's a lot of talk about, is he too hyped? Is he not? And after today, I don't think he's too hyped.
No, it's because for 30 years Boba had 3 lines, and he was only in 4 scenes, maybe tops, in the entire series.
He had more screen time in this 28-minute episode than he did in every cinema he's been in so far, probably.
That is so funny. But yes, so we might as well just
yeah. I mean, obviously, we can get into just the nitty-gritty of the story of the episode, but the big news here, obviously, is that Boba Fett came back, and I think some great news is going back to last season, not just last season of The Mandalorian, but last season of this show. We called it. That was Boba Fett picking up our girl Fennec Shand
Yeah.
on Tatooine, right? So
Yep.
that was like our big red herring where people was like, oh, they're meant to make you think that's Boba Fett. I think it's pretty darn clear now that was Boba Fett.
Oh yes.
But anyway,
And
I'm so excited.
So before the show even started, when they do the flashbacks, and the very first flashback is Fennec Shen or Fennec Shaw, however you say it. I think Fennec Shen.
I think it's Shen. Yeah.
Shen, yeah. When you see Fennec Shen in the flashbacks, you know she's going to be in the episode. Like,
yeah.
I'm like, not that I was mad to see her in the episode. Don't get me wrong. But it totally took away from the whole surprise, you know.
You mean the machinery in her belly didn't surprise you enough?
Okay, that was weird.
She had that steampunk stomach.
Steampunk. Okay. So before we get too far into it, you know, we are breaking down the episode now, so this is all spoilers for the final time
absolutely.
to tell you. Yes.
If you are one of those people who have made it this far, 22 minutes into the episode and can't tell that there are some spoilers coming, then you know it's your own fault at this point.
So, yeah. So before we get to her, let's just talk briefly about the first scene that we see.
It was adorable.
When the show started, not the previews that tell you that Fennec is going to be on the show.
Right.
But when the show started, good old Norman over here is playing with the ball, and very cute how he takes it away, and then he says, you know, Kyle says, take it back, and he takes it back, and you can almost see through the helmet Kyle start to cry because
my boy's growing up.
He's growing up. He's gonna leave me. He's gonna go off to college. He's gonna go off to Jedi Academy and leave me here all by myself.
Boy, that Razorcrest sure is gonna feel like an empty nest. I sure hope nothing bad happens to it.
I know. I love the Razorcrest. That's my favorite ship. That ship is awesome. I'm hoping for Christmas that I get the Lego Razorcrest because it's totally awesome.
You mean just a pile of Lego bricks? just a pile of Lego bricks on the floor.
Wait, do you know something that I don't know? I don't know what you're talking about. So that opening scene was super cute, super very, you know, father to child thing. Like you can see he's definitely becoming attached to him. And he even says the line, I can't train you.
You're too powerful. Right?
You're too powerful, right? So as soon as he says that, my son, when I'm watching it with my son, he goes, he's going to train him in something. Like he's coming back. So you know they're setting us up for that. Oh no, Grogu's going to leave Mando, but I mean Grogu's getting paid way too much money. He's too vital of a character for them to send him off to his little spin-off. So that's not going to happen. even though you know they want us to believe that's what's going to happen.
Honestly, even if I don't know what their plans were for little Grogu, but without Grogu, I mean Mandalorian's a great show. Right. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
But Grogu, little baby Yoda, little the child, put the Mandalorian on the map.
Oh my gosh, 100%.
Baby Yoda hand sanitizer, Baby Yoda tissue boxes, Baby Yoda potato chips. I mean, Baby Yoda's on everything.
Baby Yoda is the Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen of Star Wars.
Yes. And if there's one thing that Disney's good at, it's holding on to their figureheads.
Yes, 100%.
They're small, big-eared figureheads.
Yep.
Right? So I'm going to go ahead and say we're not going to see little Grogu go anywhere anytime soon.
No, I don't think so. So everybody rest assured, I'm pretty sure Grogu will be around for many seasons to come. And then when he's all done, we can only hope. And then he'll have his spinoff afterwards, Grogu the college years, and that'll be in prime time, and it'll only last one season, and it'll be awful.
I love it.
So then we get to the planet, which is awesome.
Tython. We are on Tython.
They get to Tython. He finds
again. Tython is one of those locations in lore that is not new. That is like a we've been there before.
Yep.
You know, the Jedi Temple on where was the Jedi Temple in The Last Jedi that she travels to, Rey?
Oh, when she's on the little island off of Ireland. Yeah, I don't remember what it actually is, but it's very similar to this Jedi Temple because this is the oldest Jedi Temple on Tython. So it looks very old. It looks like the Star Wars version of Stonehenge.
Right.
And then also, like you said, when we saw Rey and Luke at the other temple, they had what looked like could have been possibly a seeing stone there as well. There was another round stone right in the middle there as well. So this is a very, very old Jedi way of doing things. So this is not new. This is old, as you say.
Yeah. And another thing I like that they're doing, they're jumping right into it. Like,
Yeah.
I think every episode I go into, I go, is this going to be we're there, or is this going to be the journey to there?
Right.
Right. And so the last couple episodes have been there and not the journey to there. And they've gotten right into the action, especially last episode with Ahsoka just kind of jumping right in.
She was right
this
there.
episode, we land and they're kind of zooming around the temple. And I see Mando and Kyle, and Norman, they're looking at it. And I'm like, oh God, they're going to have to like land and do like some spirit walk up to the top, aren't they? And he's like, nah, we're gonna take roll the windows down.
Roll the windows down. What a great line. We're gonna roll the windows down.
Yep.
So he just flies up there. Doesn't even bother worrying about trying to climb it or anything. Just flies up.
Yep.
Little Norman's ears are flapping in the wind. He's smiling, having a great time. So Kyle is so literal. He puts them down and he says, I'm going to try to wait, what? Oh, here it is. Does this look Jedi to you?
Well, does it?
Yeah, this is the seeing zone. Do you see anything? That's what he says to him. Here it is.
I think they're trying to highlight his complete ignorance to this whole thing. Like, here's this guy. He can fight. He's streetwise, but he's completely out of his element here.
Yeah, he's got no clue.
They really emphasized that when Grogu started meditating, and not once, but at least 2 or 3 times.
3 times.
He's like, well, that didn't work the first time when I tried to break this impenetrable force field. Maybe if I try harder.
I'll try harder. And no, I'll try again. I'll get knocked out for 20 minutes while everybody else is fighting, and then I'll stand up and I'll try one more time.
And oh, by the way, I won't have my jetpack on during any of this, so it'll be super slow.
Oh my God, yes. So okay, so yeah, so the force field. I said 4 times, but it was only 3 times that he tried to break into that. It was ridiculous. The jetpack. So okay, before he loses the jetpack.
We get the craziest, most awesome shot ever, right?
Yes.
Which is Slave One.
Slave One flying in.
Just entering, making its entrance, not trying to hide, just like, hey, man, I'm here. What's up?
Here I come.
Yep.
And then he lands, and then so after Mando once decides I can't break through this force field, I'm going to go down and try and fight these guys off. And great conversation with Mando with Boba Fett, and then
there's something about hearing Tamira Morrison's voice, man.
Yes.
He's like, if you watch Clone Wars and Rebels enough, you get really acquainted with that gruff like voice of his, and it's just like you feel like this is Boba Fett, like this is him, this is the guy. I'm familiar with this guy.
So another part that cracked me up when he first meets Boba Fett, he's got his gun on him. And he's, telling him, I'm going to, whatever, leave. I'll kill you, blah, 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 whatever. And Boba Fett says, no, we got a sharpshooter up there. Then he realizes that it's Fennec. But then, so Mando has a gun facing, if I have a gun facing you, okay, I have a gun. My other hand, I have the whistling bluebirds ready to go. And I have a belt full of hand grenades wrapped around my belt. The one thing I'm going to tell you to put down is not your jetpack.
Your jetpack, yeah. Put down the jetpack so that you can't fly back here later to save Baby Yoda. Put it down.
I was like, what? He has all this armor on him. He says, put down your jetpack. I'm like, come on. So I was
you know what that is?
Foreshadowing.
This is a Boba Fett who has been around for a long time. This is a Boba Fett who knows the power of the high ground.
Yes.
Right? And so he knows, I'm taking the high ground away from this guy before he gets me.
Okay. Well, you believe that that's why they did that? I think what happened was they wrote into the script that the bad guys fly away, and we need to make sure that Mando can't just chase after them.
So take the backpack off.
We got to get the backpack off somehow. So
yep.
Yeah, so that was that. So also, when Norman first sat down on the Seeing Stone, there was a little blue butterfly. Now, I know
Yeah.
that wasn't coincidental that there was a butterfly there.
Right.
Do you know anything, or maybe Doug will tell us next week, what the blue butterfly, if the blue butterfly, I'm assuming it has some symbolics.
I don't know, man. I really
Jedi
tried.
of some
I
sort.
really tried to dig back, and my fandom started getting crossed. Like I started thinking, oh, blue butterflies, that has to deal with the Isle of North, and I'm like, oh wait, that's Game of Thrones.
That's Game of Thrones.
That's a different thing, right? So, yeah, I don't know. I really like that has to be something.
Right.
Like we saw Ahsoka's owl friend last week.
Yeah.
So like I don't know that they would have just put random blue butterflies.
Yeah.
But for the life of me, I can't think of who they might be in reference to. So if you have
Okay.
any theories about that, you know how to get a hold of us. Let
That's
us
right.
know.
Let us know on any one of our social medias. Please tell us what
And
that
if
blue
you're
butterfly
wrong
means.
and we find out about it, don't worry. We'll only make fun of you a little.
That's right, because we make fun of ourselves a little, so we'll make fun of you as well. You'll be part of the family.
That's right. So obviously the Empire crashes the party.
Yes.
And we get to see what is perhaps the greatest 8 minutes of TV. And that's, we see, and
this is good fan service.
Yes,
right here.
Absolutely. We
good
talked last
fan
week about the
service.
difference between good and bad fan service, right? This is not C-3PO shoehorned into a scene just cuz.
Yep.
This is Boba Fett finally being as cool as he has been for years.
And not only was he as cool as he's been for years, he was as cool as he's been for years without any of his armor on.
Yeah, and so there are the two phases of the fight, right? There's that first phase where he's the wandering Tusken Raider Mandalorian, the outcast, where he's using his gaffy stick, and it's about the most lethal I've ever seen a gaffy stick used.
Oh my goodness. And even when he was like dragging on the ground behind him, it's so like a horror movie.
Yeah, it was like Jason.
Yeah. I'm coming for you, like dragging, like you're just like, oh my God, I can hear and then bam, helmets exploding all over the place, fragments going. I mean, he was awesome. Fennec, she was shooting left and right. Two of the stormtroopers didn't even get off of the ship, and Fennec took them out before they even got off the ship, which once again proves how useless stormtrooper armor is.
Yep.
And
does it deflect anything?
No, and it's white. So you're in the wilderness and you're wearing white armor. It just might as well be glowing blue with a neon sign above you saying, I'm over here.
Yeah.
Take me out with your one shot.
Yep. Yeah, it's not smart camouflage on their part for sure. But I mean, I think that Fennec was cool too, but next to Boba, I don't know, like what they did with him was just, it's everything I wanted them to. He was imposing, he was terrifying to an extent. He was calm and collected.
Yeah.
But you saw like this rage in his face, man. Like he was like, you see the veins sticking out of his head, and you see he's kind of messed up, probably from the Sarlacc.
Probably from the Sarlacc, yeah. Did you notice one of his lines dude, I think in the beginning he said, I'm a simple man making my way through the galaxy.
That's actually my Facebook status right now. That was like, as soon as he dropped that line, I'm like, I know that line. I felt like Captain America. I get that reference. But yeah, I mean, that's not the first time that Temuera Morrison has uttered that line. That was a fantastic callback to the Clone Wars.
Yep.
Or I guess that would be Attack of the Clones, right?
Right, because he said it as Jango Fett first.
Right.
Yeah.
And I have to keep reminding myself that he's not just Jango's son. He's a clone.
He's a clone.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's one of the only clones probably left still out there at this point.
Right. Because he was a completely unaltered clone of Jango.
Right. So they didn't accelerate his aging or anything like that. He is like Jango would look however many years later this would be after, considering, maybe Jango were swallowed by a Sarlacc pit, then maybe he
Yeah, this is what Jango would look like if he was this age and swallowed by a Sarlacc pit.
Yeah.
Sure.
But then of course we get the shot of Jango looking at, or Boba rather, looking at the Razorcrest, and we know what's on his mind.
Yes.
I'm getting my armor back. Now my big question is this. He knows Cobb Vanth. He said, you took my armor from Cobb Vanth. So why did he not take his armor back from Cobb Vanth?
That's the same thing that Tom texted me today. He said, I don't understand. Why would he follow another Mandalorian halfway across the galaxy when there was just like a punk guy who was wearing his armor for who knows how long, 5 years or 10 years or whatever? Like, just take it back from that idiot
So,
instead.
I'm wondering how, because they're really turning Beskar and Mandalorian armor into a superpower. I mean, if you're wearing Mandalorian armor, you're a one-man army. So
Right.
I'm wondering how formidable that is. Like, could he just Cobb had the armor on, so he literally could not take it because that's how powerful Mandalorian armor is? I don't know.
I don't know.
You don't
I
see a
know,
whole lot of
maybe.
it out there, but
No, that's a good question. Maybe that's why he didn't. But Cobb Vanth being Cobb Vanth and not being a true Mandalorian or anything, sure, he doesn't know how to take care of the armor very well. So I'm sure at any given time in the past 5 years, he could have snuck into his house when he was sleeping and
Right.
just taken the armor. He probably just had it laying on the dining room table. And
Right.
he's just like, just whatever. I'll take care of it tomorrow. Put it away.
But you just mentioned something that is really important here too. You just said that he's not a true Mandalorian, Cobb Vanth, and there's a lot of hullabaloo about whether Boba is a Mandalorian, because in Clone Wars, the head of Mandalore made this big stink about you're no true Mandalorian, and I've had a lot of people telling me, well, is he Mandalorian? And we've talked on this show about Mandalorian really being more of a creed than anything else, so it's not really a race so much as a way of life, but it looks like they kind of retconned that here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Because they said that Django was a foundling, right?
Right.
And that he fought in the Mandalorian Civil Wars.
Yes.
Not the Mandalorian Wars, but the Mandalorian Civil Wars.
Civil Wars, right. So he was a foundling, and then he fought in the Mandalorian Civil Wars, and then taught Boba and handed down his armor. Well, didn't hand it down. When he was decapitated, Boba took it from him.
Right.
So then earned, I guess you could say, I don't know, whatever. Acquired is the good word. There you go. Acquired the armor from his father, which would be in turn passed down generation to generation. So, in that aspect, and even the way we said before that it's more of a creed than it was a race of people, because it wasn't even the people who lived on Mandalore were shipped off, through the years anyway, and different races came and conquered the planet anyway. So I'm going with, especially after the way he fought today, I'm saying I don't care. His dad was a foundling, so they rewrote the history, and he is now a Mandalorian.
Yep, that's fine by me.
Before he put the armor on, my son said that he looks like, when he was wearing like the Tusken robe and stuff like that, he looks like Combustion Man from Avatar.
Okay,
and
I don't know Combustion Man.
And Trey said if he shoots something out of his third eyeball there, then you know that he's definitely Combustion Man. And I said that's interesting because Dave Filoni also wrote Avatar. So I wonder if he had anything to do with the robe, with the look. If he said,
I love the look, because now there's a lot of body shaming going on out there right now about Boba Fett in his armor, and I want to stop it right here, right? Because
look. Dad bod. I'm proud of it. I don't care.
Right? Let's unite. Dad bods unite.
He's older now.
He was eaten by a giant sand-dwelling parasite that devours people over 1,000 years and lived to tell the tale. I think he earned a couple drinks at the cantina to drown his sorrows.
He sure did. I think it's funny because when Cobb Vanth had the armor on, he looked like somebody doing cosplay.
Yes.
And it looked like it just didn't quite fit him, but it didn't quite fit him in a different way that Cobb Vanth was so tiny.
Yep.
And now Boba puts it back on, and now it looks like that guy who's also doing cosplay, but he's just a little overweight, but still wants to be a Mandalorian.
Yep.
Except for the fact that Boba can still kick your butt. Where that guy in cosplay who's a little overweight probably can't kick your butt.
Probably not. But I got to tell you, and sure, maybe Boba's not in the fighting condition he once was, but he looked imposing as anything in that armor. When we get that shot of him turning at the camera when there's that explosion, it is so that is Boba Fett, and it's weird too because you see like the like ammo pouch underneath him, and he almost looks a little more. I don't know if they're going for almost a tribal look to him, or else but it's almost like he's the wild Mandalorian. He's like the Mandalorian who's been living in the wilds amongst himself. It's almost like in when we're talking about these Western tropes in the Mandalorian, it's almost like the Native American that's kind of adopted the way of life of the settlers, and he's like the Native American that's carrying, you know, the bow and arrow and the, you know, the blunderbuss all together, sort of a thing.
Right.
You know what
Yep.
I mean?
Yep.
I thought it was awesome.
One more thing my son pointed out, which was really funny, as all the stormtroopers were getting one-shotted left and right, and Boba was kicking their butts and everything like that, he said, in Rebels, Ezra went undercover as a stormtrooper trainee. Remember that episode, or a couple of episodes?
Yeah, we're great.
It was super hard. The training was super hard. It was super intense. If they weren't able to, you know, hit a loft cat's eye from 500 yards away, they went back to training and blah, 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 all this stuff. What happens to all the stormtroopers as soon as training is over? Because as soon as they're done, they get their full armor on, and they're suddenly what's the cops, the old time goofy cops? What do they call them?
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm in my 30s.
Yeah, I know. Then this is before the Keystone Cops. Do you know who the Keystone Cops are? No?
I don't.
Okay. It's from black and white TV days and stuff like that. So all the old people will know who the Keystone. They're just like, hey, we're the police, blah, blah, blah. It was like really like satire on police. Like that's what the stormtroopers, they go through all this hard training, and then suddenly they're the Keystone Cops. They can't shoot anything. They get hit every single time. They're just
Meanwhile, Dave Filoni shows up as an X-Wing pilot and hits every shot. Everything lands.
Every single time. One rocket blows up an
There's
entire...
a little bias here, I think. Oh, boy. All right, so we have our fight scene. Boba has acquired his armor. He has kicked some butt. He's used his knee rocket pads.
The knee
which,
bullets.
by the way, are canon. Like, if you look in the old visual dictionary, those are in there.
Oh, yes.
So that is Dave literally like looking at his old dictionary going, these things have never been used. Let's
use them. Yeah.
Let's do it.
And he didn't have a flamethrower on his wrist, but he definitely had like rockets or something coming out of his wrist, because he like punched and blew a couple of people back stuff like that.
It was almost like he had like a thing that made his punches like extra
accelerated.
forceful.
Yeah. And then on top of it, Fennec does the good old Indiana Jones rock slide.
Yep.
Which was awesome. I thought the rock was going to keep going all the way down and break the ship. That's what my goal was.
There was the one machine gunner who just stood there shooting the rock instead of moving out of the way.
And she had him in her sights right before he started shooting. She could have taken him out before he got one shot off.
But that's not exciting TV.
That's not exciting. Instead, we have to pull in Indiana Jones and then push a rock all the way down the hill and destroy him. So that was
You
fun.
also see her sweet jump off the rock where she like jumps backwards and like does the sweet pirouette move.
It was
really
like
nice,
like from Die Hard when he jumps out of the window of Die Hard. Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, that was a sweet fight scene. All until our boy Grogu decides he's done.
Oh, and while they're doing all of that, Grogu is meditating. And
he's got his little fingers. I love.
He's got his little fingers. Yep. He's meditating. He's channeling the Force. He's channeling another Jedi. And Kyle taking a nap.
Yep. Yeah, because his dumb self was like, maybe the third time's a charm.
Well, the first time I didn't go hard enough into this blue light. So now I'm going to I'll break through it. I know I can. And instead it just shoots you back even further. And so take a nap. And then he finally wakes up and tries for a third time to get Grogu out of there. And then finally says,
maybe I'll just help the other guys.
I'll help the other guys. I'll protect you. And then as soon as he walks away, what happens?
He wakes up. And of course, we get a shot of our death troopers who scoop him up.
Yeah. Oh, well, so
I guess that's a little while.
That's a little while away. Yeah, you jumped ahead just a little bit.
Rob takes his notes in a very linear fashion.
I do, but okay. Oh no. Oh. All right. No, before the Dark Troopers come, the Stormtroopers start running away.
Because Boba's scary.
He's got Mandalorian armor on, so they're like, forget this, I'm out of here. So they start running away. And Boba gets to use his other trademark weapon, the giant jet pack or rocket launcher on his jetpack, which was
Well, we got
awesome.
to see Cobb use that already, right? So we had to
Yes.
see Boba use it.
Yes, if Cobb's going to use it, Boba's got to use it.
Yeah.
So then, and that was great because he shoots the top one, which then falls into the bottom one, and then they both go into a fiery explosion. So explosions mean bad guys are not coming back.
Right.
So
we
good.
know that. We know that.
that.
From last season.
From last season. No explosion last season, and then we
Bad
still
guy comes
get
back.
Moff
Yes.
Gideon.
Yeah.
This time, explosion. So yay! Everybody is happy. The world can go on until. Why didn't you prep me for this, Nick?
I'm sorry.
The Razorcrest.
I'm really sorry. You know, I should have seen this coming and told you that this was a possibility. I apologize for
have.
not prepping your heart because
Yes.
that was a blow. You could tell it was a blow to him. It was
Yep.
a blow to me. It was a blow to Rob. I've had a few people message me saying that they were not okay with the destruction of the Razorcrest because
No.
it's quickly become a fan favorite.
Yes.
And he just got that thing
He
fixed.
just got it fixed. He finally got all the rope off of it and got it all fixed. It was actually back
They
together
made
the way it was
a
supposed to.
huge deal last episode about, hey, look how awesome this particular ship is now. We have made it amazing.
Amazing. And then
Bye-bye.
they say bye-bye.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
then-
was really bummed. It was very sudden. One shot, and there was no more Razorcrest.
Have we seen a leading ship like this be destroyed like this before? Like, we've seen X-Wings go down. We've seen B-Wings go down. But, I mean...
You know, I'm trying to think. I mean, aside from a shot from like a big thing like the Death Star, usually it takes a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm thinking back to The Force Awakens when they're running through the junkyard and they're ignoring the Millennium Falcon until the ship that they're running towards gets blown up in one go. So I'm wondering, like, when they shut the thing off and they put it in park,
Right.
does that shift the shields off?
I guess if you turn it off, I guess you turn the
Because
shield off.
last season they left. They didn't they make a big deal out of the fact that the Razorcrest has a really good defense system
Yes.
because they left baby yogurt. I just said baby Yoda in there with IG-11 and said, oh, it's
Yeah, they said it'll be safe, which
So-
is after the Jawas looted and took everything off of it. So
yeah, I think they put way too much faith
Yeah.
in their security systems of their ships. It's not working out well for them.
yeah, so very, very disappointing because next to like the Millennium Falcon, this was definitely turning into
It's definitely a fan favorite.
a
For sure.
fan favorite ship. Yeah, so to see that get destroyed was very, very sad and made me cry.
Yeah.
And then it gets even worse. So this episode.
So what was the
definitely
tragedy? Was the tragedy the Razorcrest being blown to bits, or was the tragedy little Grogu getting lifted
Getting
off?
abducted.
Because I honestly, I was expecting us to get a flashback. I thought the tragedy was we were gonna see the tragedy in Grogu's past. We were gonna see him at the
Oh.
temple, Jedi temple in Coruscant, and I thought, oh, that's the tragedy.
That's a tragedy.
But I'm still not convinced that Grogu getting captured is the tragedy, because I think it's pretty transparent that they're gonna go try and rescue him.
yeah.
So he didn't die. So what was the tragedy?
Right. The fact that he's just gone is the tragedy. And this is the other thing that angered me. I guess Kyle's very linear thinking, since I take notes very linear. Kyle is very, when the child was gone, he said something along the lines of, he said, the child is gone. And then Boba Fett said, yes, but we made a promise to you that we were not going to leave your side until you got the child back, or we were going to protect the child, or whatever the case
right.
was. But Mando was almost like, the Empire took him. There's nothing I can do. Like, my ship is gone. They just took my kid. I'm just going to go to the local cantina and just drown my sorrows in a bottle of grog because my life is over. Everything that I cared about is gone. So he was very depressed very quickly, which I would understand. Like, I would feel the same way, I think.
I mean, I think the beginning of the episode was serving to set up the fact that this is no longer a mission. This is his, like, the whole setup between Grogu and Din was that father and son setup, right?
Yeah.
He assumed, and local parentis, right? This is, you are now his son, you are now his father, and at the end of the season, it was kind of like, well, he likes him, so he's going to do it. But as this second season has gone through, it's very clear it's not just that. There is a connection that, you know, they care about each other. And so, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where it goes from here, especially with Grogu so very clearly turning kind of dark.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, like the end of this episode, Grogu.
I was going to ask you about that. So, yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit, because that's how this episode wraps up, right? We
Right.
get back on this Star Destroyer, and we've got Moff Gideon, and we see a side of Moff Gideon we haven't seen yet, right? He's kind of playful and smiling.
He's very he's very energetic. But can I back up 1 second? There's
you can.
two things that were saved from the ship. What you
The ball.
talked about last week, the Beskar staff, the giant
Right.
pointy staff that we know is
the
going
plot
to-
device that says that he's going to fight Moff Gideon.
Right. And then the little ball, which, so I'm assuming the little ball must be made out of Beskar as well.
Yeah, right?
Because
Like
everything
every
else
other-
that was metal,
every other piece of metal in that ship was blown to smithereens.
blown to
except for
smithereens,
the
except for the
Beskar
ball.
staff and the Beskar ball.
Right. So that ball has to be made out of Beskar.
Makes sense to me.
Makes sense to me. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to touch on those two things real fast.
For
But
sure.
yes, so now we're on the ship. Moff Gideon is skipping along. He's happy as a schoolgirl.
And he's just watching Grogu force choke these two stormtroopers, slam them together,
Yep.
throw them around the room, and he's just sitting there like, go away,
Yep.
go away. And then he's like, oh, I'm sleepy.
Yep, and he, because he knows that once he uses his powers, he can't do it for long. So he knows, look, I'm going to give him these two guinea pigs to just destroy, because he doesn't care. It's obvious he doesn't care about his own people, because in the end of season 1, he blew up an entire battalion of his own guys just to get them. So he could care less about you.
Yep.
so
Then he puts him in the cutest little handcuffs of all time.
how is the Empire that evil that they're used to handcuffing infants?
Yeah, they just have on hand like a supply of handcuffs for babies.
Handcuffs for babies. We have handcuffs in all sizes, all the way up from toddler to infant to 6-year-old handcuffs, all the way up to adult size. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wrote that down also. Was where did they get the littlest shackles in the world?
Yeah, it's definitely, it'll be interesting to see where Dark Grogu goes. I think that I'm of the opinion that Grogu is not gone after this season. I'm of the opinion that Grogu is going to become a season or a series regular.
Right.
Whether or not he continues with the Force, I think we're going to see him continue learning the Force with Din. But I think that's going to be a big theme, is him kind of battling with the dark side. And I think that's one of the big themes of Star Wars anymore, is the idea of dark versus light versus gray. And that, you know, especially with Ahsoka back in the fold.
Yep.
Ahsoka is distinctly not a Jedi.
No.
And one of the big things that I've had people asking me is, who is coming to find Grogu? Grogu clearly reached out with the Force. He was doing something on that Seeing Stone. Who's going to hear him? The two biggest names out there in the Force at the moment are Ahsoka and Luke.
Well,
right?
Ezra. Also Ezra.
Well, Ahsoka, Luke, and Ezra, right? Those are the big three. Now, Ezra, we can almost assume is elsewhere. But we know it's not going to be Ahsoka.
Right.
We know it's not
she
gonna be
already
Ahsoka, 'cause
said.
she already said she's not interested. And we also know that she's not a Jedi.
Right.
I'm gonna guess it's not gonna be Luke, because too many people are afraid to put Luke into things. I really hope they get over that. I know a lot of people don't want to see Luke in this sort of stuff. I'm of the opinion that we have not seen enough Luke.
Okay.
I'm of the opinion that Star Wars started with Luke, and he is the character we've seen the least. Do I want to see him in The Mandalorian? I don't know, but I definitely want to see Lucasfilm explore Luke's story more, and I want to see him on screen. But it looked like he reached out to someone, so it's really, I mean, the three Jedi we know that are out there and alive and active are Luke and Ezra, and yeah, you can account Ahsoka, even though she doesn't consider herself a Jedi. You can account Ahsoka. So I'm really interested to see who. Are we going to get a character we know? Hey, maybe we're going to find out that Mace Windu is out there somewhere alive and just
because
licking his wounds.
we didn't with Order 66. Is that what it was?
Sure.
Right. Yeah, we didn't see every Jedi getting killed. We saw a lot. We know that the rule was, or the whatever the order was, that they were all to be killed. But they did say they were all either killed or forced into hiding.
Yeah, I mean, I think when A New Hope and Empire Strikes back comes out, we're led to believe and led to think all the Jedi are dead. And then after Episode 3 with Order 66, we're also led to believe Order 66 killed all the Jedi. But I think with the Disney reboot, I know with the Disney reboot, they're making it clear that is the galactic observation, is that the Jedi are gone and they're all dead. But I mean, think about the world. There are 7 billion people, give or take, in the world. That's a lot of people. When you talk about a galaxy, there are trillions and trillions of beings in the galaxy. It's impossible to find them all. So it wouldn't make sense for us just to say, well, all the Jedi are dead. All of them.
I think I know which Jedi we're going to see.
What do you think?
This one. Broom Boy.
That one right there. Broom Boy. Oh, that's it.
We're going to see Broom Boy.
Well, Broom Boy's not alive yet, right?
Was he?
Broom Boy was like
was
11 in like episode 10, 9, 8. There's a lot of episodes.
I thought he was at the end of episode 3. But
Broom Boy was at the end of episode 8.
8. Okay.
So
right,
he would
back
be
to
like
the
11 years old in like 30 or so ABY. So he was not born yet.
Okay, so we're not going to see Broom
Good
Boy.
theory, though.
Darn
I
it.
like that. I like that theory.
Because that
that's
would
the
be
sort of tinfoil I can get behind.
That would definitely be something Dave Filoni would pull out too.
Yeah,
we would be like, "Where did we see this guy before?" And then he would just like, when he was done training, he would just start sweeping up in the corner,
right.
and we would be like,
That's
"It
him.
was Broom Boy!"
Yep.
Like he would totally pull him out. So
I would not be surprised if we saw a Jedi that we know. The big theme since Disney took over, and it's not just since Disney took over. I mean, there's been like back in The Force Unleashed, which was a video game before Disney took over. There were Jedi who survived the Order 66, and they basically just became hiding alcoholics, right? They were like kind of in cantinas, just drifting around the galaxy. So I would be really interested to see what Jedi Dave Filoni decides is worthy of bringing back in The Mandalorian, and in what capacity.
You know what I just thought of, which would be amazing. Now,
Go on. Let's hear it.
Depending on the timeline, I don't know if he's dead now or not.
I want to hear it.
But is Darth Maul alive at this point in time? Because now that Dave Filoni said that it could not be linear, it might not be linear. When did we see Maul in Rebels?
I don't want to spoil too much for Rebels. For those who have not seen Rebels, because Maul plays an interesting part in Rebels. I am going to go ahead and say that there is probably a 0% chance that Maul shows up.
Okay.
Based on what I know about Rebels, and again, I don't want to say too much because it's unavoidable to get Rebels spoilers in our show. And if you know The Mandalorian, but there are some things in Rebels that I don't want to spoil for people who might not have seen it. But I'm going to go ahead and say that no, I'm guessing it's definitely not Maul.
Okay, because I'm getting Rebels and Clone Wars, the 7th season of Clone Wars and stuff. Everything is all just like...
Yeah, it's weird because they re-released Clone Wars and we had that new season thrown out there, and so the timeline's all messed up.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I'm gonna say Maul is pretty much not a player at this point. Okay. Without trying to get too spoilery, because once again, I think that's one of the cooler things about Rebels. One of the cooler storylines of Rebels. If you're one of those people out there who are listening and have not listened to Rebels and you're going, I wish he'd just shut up and say this already, go watch Rebels.
Go watch Rebels.
It is some of the best Star Wars there is,
yes.
And it wraps so much stuff up so nicely,
yes.
And you'll know what I'm talking about.
So I was okay. Well, I was just thinking how, because they kept bringing him back and back and back in all different genres and stuff, and every time he comes back, he's more and more awesome. So I was just hoping, but never mind.
A
Forget
guy
I
can
even said
always
it.
a guy
A guy-
can always hope and dream. You
That's
know?
right. A guy
But
can hope
but
and dream.
it will be very interesting to see who is going to answer that call, and I'm hoping
Right.
that they do have. I wouldn't mind more Force presence in this show. I don't need to see Luke, but I loved seeing Din, Kyle's
Yeah.
complete ignorance to the Force and that dichotomy with Ahsoka and her like wisdom.
Yeah.
So I really dug that. So the other big question here is, how many episodes do we have left?
So this was the 6th episode of
We
the
have
season.
2.
So we only have 2 episodes left. Yes.
So it looks like we've got one episode to gather our army,
Mm-hmm.
and one episode for the showdown.
And
Now, we already know. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we saw that they're bringing back
Yep. Mayfield. Bill Burr.
Bill Burr. Yeah,
That's
Mayfield.
right. So that's what I was going to say. We saw that they're assembling a team, and we know that Bill Burr is out there in prison, right? And we heard from Dave Filoni and the other X-Wing fighter this year that they know about that prison heist.
Yes.
Right? So they're bringing that back. And I think last season we even mentioned they're not dead. We're
Right.
going to see them again.
We're going to see them again. So he's going to free them. It was really funny, his interaction with Cara Dune. She was like, look, I'm a good guy now. I can't really take on the Empire and fight your bounty hunter little wars here. And he said, well,
Yep.
they took the kid. And she was like,
I'm
"All right,
in.
I'm in.
Yep.
Let's go."
What's funny, too, is there was a long pause before he said it. And I literally turned to my wife while we were watching, and I said, they took the kid. And he said, they took the kid. And I'm like, I knew it. I called it. Like, that's all he had to say. That's it. Because there was another line when we first met Cara Dune where I forget exactly the line, but he had to like kind of talk her into it. And she was like, nah, I don't really want to do it. And then he was like, oh, but the Empire. And she's like, okay, I'm in.
Okay, I'm in.
Yeah,
why didn't you mention the Empire? I would have done it then.
Not exactly the most difficult person to persuade.
To persuade. She has her vices as well. Yes.
People we're gonna see in the next 2 episodes. I'm guessing we're gonna see Bill Burr. What was his name again?
Mayfield.
Mayfield, right?
Yeah.
Cara Dune, Grief
Cara Dune.
Karga.
Yep.
Those are the 3 we will definitely see.
Well, I'm also gonna say Bo-Katan's coming back.
But I will agree with you. We were going to see, I think definitely, okay, so we've got Bo-Katan, we've got Mayfield, we've got Cara Dune and Grief Karga. 4, I think positive, those 4.
And, well, I mean, Boba Fett told him that
Boba
he's
Fett
in their service.
And
Fennec
Shaw.
Yeah.
Fennec Shan, right?
Fennec
Those
Shan,
6,
yep.
for sure. And I'm really excited to see more interaction between Boba and Kyle the Mandalorian here. The way they set Boba, they played him exactly right. And again,
yes,
it's like my inner child came out, and I'm back to Boba Fett is the man. So those are definite. Now, Ahsoka,
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think that was our introduction to Ahsoka, and I think we're going to see more from Ahsoka and Rosario Dawson in another medium.
Yes. And rumor has it that they are getting ready to start filming finally the Obi-Wan series.
Right.
So I don't know.
I've also heard rumors about a Ahsoka trilogy.
Oh.
Now Rosario Dawson is a big star, so that wouldn't shock me. She has buying power. She has fans. So people will come see Star Wars, and people will come and see Rosario Dawson. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw. And also, Ahsoka is just, I think, overwhelmingly the most hot rising star of the Star Wars universe, so far as characters that people are interested in. So I think we'll see Ahsoka eventually, but I don't think again in The Mandalorian.
No.
We might see Frog Lady again.
We might.
For the life of me, I can't understand what her purpose was if we don't see her again.
I know. Why have that entire episode if we're not going to see her again? Just so that we can meet Bo-Katan.
Yeah. So
we needed her to meet Bo-Katan. I don't know. And it would be interesting if Cobb Vanth came back somehow, even though he doesn't have his armor.
I think he will. I think he's too big of a name for them to leave behind Timothy Oliphant. I'd like to see the armor again as well.
Yes. I'm wondering if but the armor is not where she was. So she took off. She went somewhere. We don't know where she is. I don't know if Kyle can find her, because I would like to see the armorer make Boba Fett a new full suit, which would be pretty neat to see. But also, if you put the armor and Bo-Katan in the same room together, we talked about this before, they have two drastically different views of Mandalorian ways and life, and I don't know how well they would get together, if they would butt heads and not do anything or what. So that would definitely be interesting. So I would like to see the armor again. So we have 12 characters at least that we need to see one more time. And Amy Sedaris, we need to see.
That's
her
right. Obviously. Yeah.
We need
Can't forget. Well, he needs a new ship.
He does.
I mean, he's hitchhiking aboard the Slave One for right now, but he's going to need his own ship once he gets out of this mess. Yeah. I'm really hoping, again, we've talked on this show many times about that. It is not the Razorcrest. It is a Razorcrest class ship. I'm hoping we see another Razorcrest class ship and he gets to jump on that Razorcrest, and that's his Razorcrest.
He goes back to Tatooine. He sees Amy Sedaris, and he goes, "I need a new ship." And she goes, "Oh, there's another Razorcrest right out the back. Right out back. Go to Mos Espa. They have one over there instead of Mos Eisley. Go ahead, go get it." Yeah. And so then suddenly, boom, the Razorcrest is back. Maybe the R on the side of this one's painted blue instead of orange or something like that.
Yeah, I'm guessing we'll see another. I hope we see another. It's a great ship, and again, the last episode they made such a big deal out of how cool it is.
How about he gets in the new Razorcrest, and the knob that Grogu likes to play with is like a square.
Yeah.
He unscrews the square and he puts the round one.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Now I'm home."
Yeah.
And then flies away. That's how episode 8's going to end. I'm telling you right now. You heard it. Boom. And then he's flying off.
I love it. Now I'm hoping the next two episodes are the last two of the season, so I'm hoping they're a little longer. Today was a short episode,
yes.
But I don't mind short episodes if they're going to be this packed with content.
Oh yeah, I mean this was jam packed.
Episode 2 of this season, I felt like, wow, this is a waste.
Yes,
and that was 45 to 50 minutes long. This was 30 minutes long, and every second of it, I was on the edge of my seat.
Yep, 100%.
So, again, I don't know what their thought process is so far as the length of episodes. I think they're pretty much deciding when we're done with the episode, we're done.
When we wrote, we're gonna start with a 60-minute episode, writing a 60-minute episode, and then we're gonna cut it down. And when we're done cutting it down, we get to whatever length of episode we have, and that's what we're going with.
That's it.
They're not going to put filler in to make it longer, and they're not going to try and shortchange anybody. I wish they were all 60 minutes of amazingness, but I'll take 30 minutes of amazingness over 30 minutes of amazingness and 30 minutes of boring. Let's get to the next awesome scene.
Yeah, I've never had an episode of The Mandalorian that I was bored so far. Right. I've had episodes that were not as good as others, but they've all been great. I'm so glad that Star Wars is putting out quality content in some form or another. I know that there's rumors about a Clone War or a Rebels spinoff. There's a lot of rumors out there about new media, but right now we've got The Mandalorian, and The Mandalorian is the best Star Wars I've ever seen.
Yes, I agree 100%.
And
it's funny. And last year, before season 1, I was saying, I don't want to see a buddy cop, Boba Fett, Mandalorian.
Yeah, in fact, you might have used those exact words.
Those exact words, yes. And I watched this, and I like I said, I watched it 3 times today.
Yep. Now you're on board.
He was so awesome.
Turner and Hooch, Boba and Kyle, let's do it.
I'm on board for a short amount of time, but then let Boba go off, he's going to get the child back, and then Boba can go back on his ways. And we can see how awesome Boba was without making him the star of the show. I don't want him to be the star of the show, but I finally got to see Boba live up to the hype, which was awesome.
He definitely lived up to that, and he's changed. He's definitely changed because Boba has not been that active in on screen, but there have been some depictions of him in Clone Wars when he was younger and in comic books. He hasn't been a good guy.
No,
he's not like. In this episode, we get a glimpse of that. We see he says, "I've paid no creed to no man" or whatever, something like that. So he's still clearly he's a lone wolf.
Right.
Something has changed since he went into the belly of the Sarlacc that's made him a different person, and we see that he's less I don't know about selfish, but less evil strictly, right? Because he
Sure.
made that we told you we would see the child safe. We're going to. So it'll be interesting to see the psychological ramifications behind what Boba has changed. But I thought it was a great episode. I'm really excited to see what's to come.
I would too.
It'd be great.
Ranking it real fast. We didn't do this last episode, but we could do it now. So let's rank the last 2 episodes. So the Ahsoka
These
Katana.
past 2 episodes have been my favorite episodes of The Mandalorian.
I agree 100%.
1 and 2.
One
the one with Ahsoka is 1. This one is 2 for sure. It doesn't. You don't really. It's hard to beat live action Ahsoka Tano, especially the way they did it. But seeing Boba Fett just take names and you know what? It tickled the child inside of me, and I couldn't be happier.
Yep, they made a believer out of me. Now.
Yeah, Rob was team no Boba from day one, and today
one.
he is on board.
I am on board. I was like, okay, I like it, and even just seeing slightly overweight Boba come up the hill with the armor on, and you see how it fits him. It doesn't fit him right, but it definitely fit him better than the way it fit Timothy Oliphant.
Oh yeah,
and just seeing how he used it so much better, it was just like, yep, this dude is awesome. So,
you know what it is? This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way. That's right.
This is the way.
Man, what a great episode to break down. It was an awesome. We have 2 episodes left in the season. Make sure you're checking us out. You can check us out on anywhere you get your podcasts, on Spotify, on Stitcher, on Apple Music, on Google Music. Check out our friends over at the Ears Up Network. I'm really excited to see what we have to come. There's a whole lot. I don't know. This is I can foresee. Have they already greenlit a 3rd season?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Okay.
They already started writing it and everything. Yeah.
Great. So we know we've got at least another season coming. I think The Mandalorian has got at least another couple of seasons. Based on what I'm seeing, they've got the momentum. They've got the viewer base. I know people who buy Disney Plus just for The Mandalorian and then cancel it afterwards. So it's going to be an interesting new chapter for Star Wars. I'm really excited about.
Yep, very excited.
But I think that's about all we got for the episode.
I think
today,
so,
Rob.
and I think this was an awesome episode, and I hope that you guys liked it as much as we did. Because even though there were some silly things in it that we were like, really, like, put your jetpack down, come on.
Yeah.
Something better than that. But other than that,
they gotta put things to move the story along somehow. I guess I get it. I'm not a Hollywood writer, but I think they're doing. Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, take the wheel.
Yes, take the wheel.
Take the wheel, right?
And I think on that, I think that's the end of our show too. Take the wheel, and I think we should get out of here as well. So
I think you're right. We have done enough of this thing called speaking because we have spoken.
We have spoken.